Laps to go in Mexico City in NASCAR's first ever points race south of the border. First ever points race in a national touring series outside the United States in the 50-plus year history of NASCAR. Reed Sorensen will make a pit stop to change those flat spotted tires. Jeff's there.
Yeah, Rodney McGee let him out right there. Seth Jenkins is changing those tires. Brian Patty said, guys, we got nothing to lose. If we're going to gain any ground from way back there, we're going to have 4 fresh tires and just a little bit of a tweak on the adjustment. But the rookie's been doing great all day long. They're hoping they can finish it off in grand style after getting caught up in that little bit of a miscue.
Thanks, Jeff. This circuit is named for 2 of Mexico's greatest auto racing stars, Pedro and Ricardo Rodriguez. Though 2 years younger, it was Ricardo who was first into Formula One, driving a factory Ferrari. You'll see his year-old number 8 starting from the pole in the Italian Grand Prix at Monza in 1961. Ricardo was only 19 years old. But his career would be short-lived right here on this circuit at Turn 8. In 1962, he crashed to his death in practice. Pedro won 2 Formula One races, 67 in South Africa and 1970 at Spa in Belgium, and twice won the Daytona 24-hour race. He won 2 World Sports Car Championships for Porsche in the famed 917, and then he died in an Inter-Series race at the Norris Ring in Germany in 1971. And for the Rodriguez brothers, this circuit is named, and other Mexican racing stars have portions of the circuit named for them. Moises Solana, a Formula One driver, his name is carried on the Turn 1, 2, and 3 complex, and Hector Rabaque, the first Mexican driver to win in kart. The Turns 4, 5 complex is named for him.
And it's a beautiful facility. You saw right there, there's actually a baseball stadium in the middle of the infield. And the biggest thing I want to say there, you see it right there, the top of the grandstands. The people have treated us great since we got here on Thursday and Friday.
20 laps to go, Darrell. Martin Truex Jr., Stanton Barrett in the best drive of his career, Carl Edwards, and the road race ringers well back as we come into the closing stages of this one.
Yeah, I mean, we got a interesting cast of characters at the front here, but can they stay? Late in the race, as you saw Reed Sorensen, easy to make a mistake, fall back to 30th place.
Shane Meal in the 32, who has never run a road race, in 4th place. Rusty Wallace, one of Nextel Cup Racing's all-time best on the road circuits, in 5th. In 6th, Kevin Harvick, who can get the job done turning right and left. But in 7th, the 22 of Kenny Wallace, and in 8th, first of the Mexican drivers, Carlos Contreras. Tim Fedewa 9th. Clint Boyer now up to 10th, and our pole sitter, Jorge Getters, has recovered up to 11th place, just ahead of Ashton Lewis Jr. Boris Said in the 1 is 13th. The 28 of Johnny Sauter, and the 33 of Ron Hornaday Jr.
Well, you got to, you know, Boris was last on that last car on the lead lap on that last restart. Here he is in 13th place. He's been making some moves. Look at, matter of fact, you can see what he's been using to make them.
There is a lot of speedy dry at Turn 8 toward the pit entrance, where something let go on the number 83 of Robbie Gordon. So they're going to have to do a little bit more remedial work to make sure all of that fluid and speedy dry is swept up. So we'll take a break from Mexico. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Welcome back to Busch Series Racing on Fox, presented by America Online. From the Autodromo, Hermanos Rodriguez, the TelCel Motorola Mexico 200, presented by Banamex. And one of the pre-race favorites has fallen by the wayside. Matt?
Mike Canadian Ron Fellows here in the Chance 2 pit. Now, you're not working on a ride for Sears Point, are you? Because I can talk to Bono about that and help us along.
Well, you do that, please, Matt. Yeah, we're just, I gave Martin a little love tap earlier in the race. We're chatting about it and talking about the future a little bit, yeah.
So are we getting closer to possibly Bono getting you a first ever Nextel Cup Series win?
What do you think, buddy? Yeah, we'll
Watkins
see.
Glen. Disappointing day for you, though. You had a lot of high hopes coming in here.
Well, you know, and I know Joe's watching at home. And sorry, Joe. The car was really good. We got messed up in track position, and then the 60 car or 40 car, whatever. He kept messing up turn one, and I finally got underneath him because he was blocking, and I thought I gave him plenty of room going around the outside of him for turn two, and he spun me hard. So that was. Maybe I could have been a little bit more patient, but Joe, I think I owe you one.
Well, we will for sure see Ron at the Glen. He hopes we'll see him at Sears Point as well.
Joe is Joe Nemechek, Nextel Cup driver who owns this car that Fellows piloted today. Here he is alongside Rusty Wallace. Takes it to the grass to avoid a collision. Then this with the 40 car, as Ron just described.
I think what he doesn't know is the 40 car hit the curb and then jumped into him, which is pretty tight going right there, trying to go outside.
Then the big one when Chris Cook slammed into Fellows, both trying to avoid Denny Hamlin's spun car. That was the one that put Fellows behind the wall. Here's Jeff.
Well, Mike, down here in the 60 pit of Carl Edwards, talking to his crew chief, Brad Parrott, and I asked him, hey, can you guys turn it up a little bit and go after this win? He said, well, a lot of that's going to depend on Carl Edwards. But I've been telling them this all day long, Jeff, and it's worked pretty good. Brake early and patience. Now, that's two things right there a lot of times the driver doesn't always understand. But today, so far, Carl Edwards has been paying attention to what his crew chief's been saying. They've got themselves in a pretty good position here with just a few laps to go.
You notice, Jeff, they just added that patience part on there.
That was a late addition.
That's right.
But Daryl, how many times have you told us you have got to drive slow to be fast on a track like this?
That's the one thing I learned on the road course is slow down and go faster. Brake early, get your car stopped. Before you get to the turn, get off the brake and then accelerate hard. You can teach someone to road race. There's a technique to road racing, and that's part of it.
Carl Edwards in that number 60 has had an interesting, an exciting, not a happy weekend so far. Friday practice, off course. Saved it. Trying to avoid Kim Crosby at the chicane. Destroyed it. Climbed into the backup car. Exploded it. And then came back to qualify in the top 10 on his time trial run.
And I think the biggest thing with 17, 18 laps to go, and I tell you, there's the crew's the one that I think did the biggest job this weekend. With only 17, 18 laps to go, and his closest competition right now, as we already talked about a little earlier, Reed Sorensen, he's back in 33rd. Good old top 5 finish would be pretty good here.